listening to me, fantastic. You should be able to start in a couple of minutes. I'm just kind of making sure YouTube is set up. There we go. YouTube's now live. Is Facebook live? Guys, if you're there and listening to me. Okay, so Facebook is now apparently live. Yep, and YouTube is live. Cool. Okay. Close my feed so I don't hear myself twice. Okay. I have no idea how many people are here, so we'll for a couple minutes. Seriously, why is it? I've done like a few of these now, and this has been the most stressful one to set up, and I don't know why. Well, I know why. It's because we were recording an hour and it kind of threw all the settings off. So.
Yeah, the microphone seems working fine. You can hear me.
I can hear you absolutely fine. We'll give it a couple minutes, let everyone to just join in, because I know we started the stream bang on 1 o'clock and not just before. So I'll leave it a couple minutes, let people join in. I may as well ask, because while we wait, how is the bathroom looking? Cool.
Rips up.
yeah, that's
yeah. It's not ideal, but it is what it is.
No. So it's literally on one of the only days I actually needed you available for an actual slot of the day for now, and your bloody bathroom blows up. But there we go.
Yeah. Happy days.
It is what it is. Okay. I think we'll make a start. We'll just kind of, obviously this is a recording, so it will get recorded so people can obviously watch it back on the TMC. So yeah, welcome everyone. My name's Alan from the TMC, and I'm joined with by John, who is kind of
John
and John. There we go. So this is our very first monthly safety briefing. Just to caveat this, we are always open to feedback. So if anything we say doesn't make sense or anything we've missed on this, then please do shout and let us know. As I say, this is being simulcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So hopefully we've got people on all three channels kind of watching and listening. Any questions, please do put them in the appropriate questions box. They're sitting opposite me to pick those questions up. I'm going to feed them through to me. John is going to be sort of talking through most of the updates for the last month. I'm just here to kind of be tech support to a certain extent. So if you've got any questions, do ask away and they'll come to me. Just to hi Lisa, Frank, Terry and Kai. I'm going to get a nice feed coming in from Casper here, so that's good. Great to have everyone here. As I said, this is going to be being recorded, and it will be sort of chopped up, edited up a little bit and chucked onto the TMC. So if you do miss today, or you only get a half of it, or you got to drop off halfway through, don't stress. It is going to be available. We are going to make it into a monthly safety bulletin as well. So a PDF you can download and read in your own time / share with your operators and your if you deem necessary. So that's kind of what we'll be doing as we're going forward. So I've waffled enough to explain what we're doing. We'll jump straight in. This is going to be kind of a whistle-stop tour through. If anyone has any questions, I say just ask. So we'll jump straight in, John. Obviously, that was the PACT e-scooter conference on the 28th of March. What were some of the things kind of discussed there, or what was not discussed in that conference is probably a better thing to say.
Well, yeah, obviously they had their spring conference, like you said, and obviously the government has now officially published the national evaluation of e-scooter rental trials in England, which is really, really interesting. I think they've obviously all agreed that the future, they're actually calling it micro-mobility. So not really scooters, so micro-mobility. So I think they've already established that the future of micro-mobility in the UK is going to benefit massively from e-scooters. But the main issue, everyone's thinking, is there needs to be firm regulations. Okay. Obviously we don't know what the regulations are. So there is, obviously that is really interesting. Is it going to really change our industry? It probably will, having e-scooters, officially on the road. So it's quite exciting. Obviously they are a little bit scary sometimes, but
I think the problem is because they're not regulated, they're actually illegal to be on the roads, e-scooters anyway, apart from the rental
unless they're rented.
Yeah, but again, that's just a trial. I think the actual e-scooters on the road, serious. Every single one is illegal. They're not allowed to be on the road.
Mm.
And I think they released some stats. It was like of the 1,000 deaths or whatever on roads due to e-scooters. I think 997 were due to e-scooter kind of issues and stuff. So the point
That's
is,
insane.
it's a huge number of people that are of accidents are caused by e-scooters. So it is a real big problem, and so it does need to be regulated. But the kind of take-home point, nothing was really decided is the answer. Is there's no regulations in the pipeline at the moment, so it's kind of watch this space. The conference was mostly around how it's going to be good or bad and discussing it, but not really no take-home points of what's actually going to change. But that's just the way it is. So just wanted to kind of put that in because I watched some of it. It was a kind of an online conference, and I just wanted to share it with. I think the recordings are still available online, so you can go and catch those at another date. So the next thing I wanted to kind of discuss was we've decided to kind of do a deep dive into a couple kind of recent public inquiries. And obviously, John, as you are the expert, I'll let you kind of take lead on this. Do you want to go through the first one that we've kind of made some notes on here and sort of discuss them in a bit more detail?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So yeah, as you said, Alan, we each month we'll take a dive into two obviously ones that become apparent in the month, but also the ones that we find quite interesting and suit a theme. And obviously this particular theme is to do with sort of maintenance. Yeah, sure. So obviously all this is out on the public forum, is public knowledge, so we're okay to discuss company names and transport manager names. Again, this information is out there. So this was a transport company called Alexa and G&M, and the TM was Colin Dawson. So I've written a few notes here, so apologies if I read off my notes more than I would usually. So, a trailer was issued an immediate S marked prohibition during an MOT. This is back on the 5th of November 2021. They found the parking brake was inoperative. The examiner also found numerous defects, which basically pointed to huge failures in the company management of the maintenance system management system. So on the later on the 5th of May 2022, another vehicle examiner visited the operator, who then unsurprisingly recorded unsatisfactory findings and reported the concerns to the traffic commissioner. Assessments were made, and I think they got to a number of 8 items which provided cause for concern. So out of 12 assessments, 8 were an issue. So again, quite a high issue, high number. So the operator tried defending this by blaming expensive parts and repair bills as to why so many vehicles and trailers were operating with defects. Brake checks weren't even being carried out, poor record keeping, services not being done on time, if ever, and poor driver defect reporting system. So after all that, the TC decided that the operator license was revoked. The owner was disqualified from holding a license for 12 months. The owner is not allowed to be a company TM. And the original transport manager, Colin Dawson, his repute has been tarnished and issued a formal warning. So yeah, you can see there's quite a few alarm bells there. Yeah.
So, I mean, if we go through the next one in a bit more detail, and we'll kind of pull out some of the themes that came out being looked at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the second one we highlighted was a company called Square Line Transport Limited, and the transport manager was John Thomas Kelly. So they were called to a public inquiry on the 20th of September 2021, following receipt of a very. They were looking to increase their numbers to 2 vehicles and 2 trailers. They found numerous issues. There's a fair few here, so bear with me. So they found there was no genuine link with the transport manager. They failed the finance review. They didn't state how the vehicles and trailers were going to get kept in a fit and serviceable condition. They didn't provide any proof of doing anything, basically. And so they decided to investigate the TCs and the examiners, and they found, they definitely didn't even meet the mandatory requirement for the financial standing. Services showed inadequate brake testing. Again, there's a theme there. And also they were unladen. No loads it wasn't loaded brake tests. The operator couldn't produce trailer inspection documents, anything to do with trailer services. The operator said they belonged to another company called Panther Logistics. So there wasn't any defect reporting. And also they found that John Thomas Kelly, the transport manager, was invoicing the company and literally gave them one piece of evidence for one vehicle. That was it. One maintenance inspection. So there was a clear sign of nothing was being kept. They also found out that the operator stated he uses agency drivers, but no checks done on the drivers. So none at all. No license checks, no manual entries, nothing at all. So they found basically the TC found that the operator license had revoked from the company. Was told basically major improvements had to be made before they even begin to think about applying for a new license. So yeah, I mean, you can see that there's a theme there with those recent two.
Yeah, I think that, and that obviously the maintenance and fleet maintenance, clear theme between the two there.
Yeah.
And obviously we've timed this safety briefing almost to perfection with the guide to roadworthiness being updated last week, week before last, or whatever it was. And so yeah, we'll kind of go through some of those changes, and I think kind of that sort of highlights there's a common theme running through that for sure. So
yes,
I found, I must say, when we were sort of doing the review, the checking these out, I found it really interesting to read through them and sort of see what the traffic commissioner is actually looking at and how they report on this. And I do find reading the PI quite interesting. I find the findings quite interesting. It's very story led. If I did this and I did that, it's quite nice to read it. It's quite fun to read.
It does make an interesting read, and I think on the back of, obviously, as you said already, this is our first safety briefing, so we were doing this every single month. It was interesting reading them, and obviously you and I discussed, Alan, that it would be quite an experience to even go to a public inquiry and sit in the audience and actually listen. It would be quite interesting.
I know we've got some of our TMC members and some people in the community that specialise in this sort of thing. So it'd be interesting to hear what they have to say about these things.
Definitely.
I'm not a TM, and you've touched wood, never been taken to one, so you're all good as well. So go on.
So basically, so the next bit, obviously there's a new traffic commissioner in the West Midlands. So a chap called Miles Dorrit has officially taken over from Nick Denton now. He was interim since June 2022. So yeah, he's now officially been appointed. He's supported by two further people. So a lady called Catherine Moxon and a gentleman called Dr. Paul Stooks. So yeah.
So just I think it's just not much to discuss there. Just that it's happened and there's a new TC there. So
So obviously, they come from various backgrounds. By all means, go and see. But they're both very versed in what they do. So So the next subject is smart motorways, which I know has a lot of hate. So I think this one was quite interesting.
Feeling that most people already probably know this, but I think it's interesting to kind of discuss it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah. So basically, all future constructions have now officially been cancelled. Only 2 more are being built. That's because they are 3/4 already constructed. So it makes sense. They invested too much time, resources, money, etc. into those. They're going to finish those. The reason is I'm not expecting a surprise face off with Alan, but due to cost and safety concerns. So obviously we see in the news the amount of safety concerns, those awful fatal accidents we had, so long ago. So no one's going to be surprised, I think.
It'd be not reverse those. Have they announced if they're going to reverse what's already been done in the future and undo them, or
nothing's been said as of yet. So there are rumours that they may do something, but the problem is it's such a vast amount of motorway and such a vast cost. I don't think they truly know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Either or that would just be one very, very long, expensive lay-by. Hard shoulder.
Well, I'm glad it's changed. As a car driver, I think it's terrifying thinking if you break down and got a HGV driver coming up in that lane. So,
it's not good. Mm.
Okay. Next point. I think this is quite a subtle one. I don't know if anyone's specific. Change the fuel supply. There's a consultation out at the moment around fuel tankers. Do you want to go into a bit more detail about that?
Yeah, so without getting nerdy with sort of percentages and stuff like that, but basically, there is a consultation going at the moment to basically help the fuel supply chain. So new proposals are currently being considered on whether fuel tankers should be allowed to carry more fuel. Again, designed to strengthen the UK's fuel supply chain. So it's still ongoing, but it would potentially see tankers allowed to operate to their full design train weights. Um, Basically, bottom line, talking numbers, they're looking at improving the fuel supply chain efficiency wise by at least around 6% the entire UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty it's a very subtle one, but it potentially has a really big knock-on effect to operators. So that's pretty cool.
I must say, it's not. Some of these points are kind of flashed across my social media and stuff. This one wasn't. We had to really go and dive and find this. I think it's kind of an interesting one because it was such a hot topic. Was it last year with the rush on fuel? Obviously, that was having to drive around all the fuel stations around here to get just to fill up was a nightmare. So
it was it was stressful, wasn't it? And I couldn't imagine being an operator, even just a personal car. It was stressful.
Yeah.
So
I think that'll be that'll be good.
Yeah.
I think the next one is quite fun. I'm kind of excited by this because of kind of conversations I've been having with other people in the industry. But DVSA's earn recognition have released their mixer guidance kind of notes. This was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it was. So obviously, I know your background is within kind of aggregates, so I thought you'd be a really good place to start with your view on this. In a nutshell, it's a new module that bolts onto the earn recognition scheme. It's been done in partnership with the British Aggregates Association. I'll let you go through the specific some of the things that kind of been mentioned in the guidance.
Well, yeah, obviously, as I said, there's a new module. So DVSA ER worked in partnership with the British Aggregate Association. So it's going to cover there's sort of 6 new items. So I'll quickly list those off. So it's going to cover items such as sector knowledge and training for the transport manager or responsible person. Sector training for the drivers and transport office staff. There's going to be bits about weight compliance, things about the additional maintenance requirements, security, and the last one being health and safety. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, I must say we've only just started really looking at recognition. Obviously, my podcast with Phil a few weeks ago was kind of an interesting one to record. This is something that I don't know if anyone has listened to it. If you haven't, I'd recommend going and finding it on wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, like he did say, like they're quite dynamic as a team around with different types of industry, and this is an example of it being done in practice, and it's really interesting to see. I do know there are people we talk to who might be able to support in this, so if anyone is interested in support around this in more detail, do just send me a message on LinkedIn, or send me an email, or just ask a question on the TMC forum as well. That's also another way of getting through to me. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of change, and I've be kind of it rolled out kind of more widely to kind of bring in a little bit of, not say competition, but has held a dominant player in the market. It'd be good to kind of bring in other schemes that kind of are on par and might be more cost effective. But I think it's all about obviously improving safety at the end of the day, and I think that's really important. So yeah, I think what we'll do in the recording of this and in the safety bulletin, we'll put all the links to all the notes that we've spoken about today, so we can find the guidance for this, for example, because there's a lot we're talking about, and we're doing a bit of a whistle stop tour through that. So we will get to the changes on the guide to roadworthiness. That's the last point, by the way, guys, so you're gonna have to hang around to the end for that. So the next point we're going to go through is DVSA sets out their vision to keep Britain moving safely and sustainably. That was announced recently. There's a lot to cover here, so John, I'll let you just kind of get into it, really.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, so they've obviously, they've set out their vision to improve, Britain and keep it moving safely and also sustainably. They sort of set out five sort of important challenges. Those five are like make roads safer, improve services for its customers, make road transport greener and healthier, harness the potential of technology and data, and grow and level up the economy. I love that level up nod there. So basically, so there's a list of bits and pieces how they're going to do this. It does make for an interesting read. There's a fair few here, so bear with me. We'll discuss anything that you want to highlight afterwards.
Yep.
But so excuse me. So the first one everyone already knows about, but they're jogging our minds. This is what's going to happen by 2030. The sale for petrol or diesel cars is going to be banned. Petric, new fuel coming soon.
There you go. You heard it
10
first.
million 10 million battery electric vehicles are expected on the roads by 2030. 1 in 8 new cars could have self-driving features. They want half of all journeys in towns and cities to be made by walking or cycling. So that is the DVSA vision to 2030. So
There you go.
they want to also significantly increase its work to educate and advise the public and businesses. So they want to improve driving standards and driving tests, and also they're suitable for self-driving vehicles. That's quite interesting. I don't know how they're going to do that one. Taking theory tests and driving tests become more convenient. Obviously, we're still experiencing that backlog across the board from COVID. Excuse me. Existing drivers are able to use self-driving vehicles safely. The vehicle approval process, they want to promote innovation in automation and net zero emissions. MOT testing and in-service vehicle safety. We want to keep up to the latest vehicle technology, such as, and I know you'll like this one, Alan, artificial intelligence, radar and LiDAR, which is basically light detection and ranging. So that's pretty. I probably butchered that pronunciation, so I apologise to any. Vehicle data is accessible and easy to use. I think that's a really big thing. Commercial vehicle operators have clear standards to follow that reflect the latest technology. More commercial driver and vehicle non-compliance is detected remotely through better data and technology. And commercial vehicle operators have access to tailored guidance to help. Just going over the summary, obviously you can see as a theme there, a lot of it is to do with tech, technology, the future. So I think there's some really big ones there. I don't even got any thoughts there, Alan. If not, I'll continue.
No, I mean, I'd say we went to the CV show last week, and there was a gentleman, I can't remember who it was. I didn't write any notes on this, so I'll see if I get it right. But the new tacho devices that have been rolled out from August this year, the Gen 2 version 2, I think they've dubbed them. It's all about how that data could be shared with gantry technology and stuff, and essentially it's not, they can't read all data. It's all about, we're talking about data becoming more accessible. It's about sharing certain data points at as you go into gantries and bridges and stuff, and it will cover a load of data, but it's not real time. It's not like all the data. It's just the key things that they want to have access to, which is things like last period of driving. There's about, I think it's 28 different data points they mentioned. If I'll try and make those notes somewhere available on the notes list, because I think that's really interesting. Is trying to make it's no different to ANPR data. It's no different to an ANPR kind of picking up and sort of like flagging it up down the road, but it means you don't get pulled over if you're actually compliant. So I think it's really interesting looking at that. I can now see why that's being done. It obviously lines up with their vision for the next sort of like few years. So yeah, that's interesting. Ultimately though, the vision is there to focus on outcomes to make a real difference. So it'll work to obviously reduce the number of people killed and seriously injured on our roads. Obviously in turn reduces pressure on the NHS. It helped, which obviously is a massive thing, kind of more nationwide than just within transport. It's also helped people to use new connected and autonomous mobility technology safely. Basically, you want to make more people more independent. Also, you need to improve public transport services to make sure more people can get to work and to education. Because obviously, I know there's a big thing about bus usage and stuff. Also, trying to essentially help the road haulage industry become more efficient and to keep the supply chains more resilient. And ultimately, help with the cost of living, because obviously we're so dependent on the supply chain to exist. If we can make them more resilient and not so kind of able to be shocked by certain things, then obviously it keeps costs down. They also wanted, well, I've noticed here, help to create 38,000 jobs in the self-driving vehicle industry. That's interesting. Don't know how. Might that be interesting to see that how it's going to help end the UK's contribution to climate change by becoming net zero, and obviously that's a big thing. And to link that, I think obviously air pollution. We talk about kind of climate change as the only thing that emissions causes, but obviously air pollution is a massive problem, and human-made air pollution causes, I mean, the data here, 28 to 36,000 deaths every year from kind of air pollution. So trying to obviously reducing air pollution reduces deaths, reduces pressure on as well. So I think it's all really good stuff they're working towards. So I think it's a nice vision. Whether it will come to anything, we shall see. So
We shall see.
Yeah, bit of a swerve now. We're gonna kind of. I saw a couple of these posted on Facebook, I think yesterday or a couple of days ago, around the HSE kind of released some updates for things. I know you're a health and safety nerd, so I'll let you take point on this. We've got two cases we want to discuss in a bit more detail. There's an unfortunate death at a concrete plant and a forklift incident. So, John, do you want to start off with the concrete plant and just dive into the subject and sort of we can discuss it?
I've always kept up to date with HSE because I do like health and safety, which is why I don't have any friends. But yeah,
this morning, that's not the reason you've got no friends, but anyway.
Cheers. No, but it is really interesting. Obviously, most of the reading they release in terms of accidents, obviously, it can be quite morbid. Obviously, we've left out, we've taken sort of information direct from HSE, which is not meant to offend anyone. It's purely just facts and what happened. Again, this is all public knowledge, so we are allowed to say names and company names. It's out there on the public forum. So so there were two that by the HSE this month. There were a few, but these two stood out for me a little bit. Excuse me. So the first one, the concrete plant and the death of an employee. So I'm probably pronouncing incorrectly, but Cree Concrete Products Limited have been fined £1 million. So fair amounts, but obviously it's because an employee named Stuart Ramsey suffered fatal head injuries. This was back on the 15th of March 2017 at their site in Hoveringham. So as you can tell, when these big serious accidents happen, they do take a long time to be investigated and to be released. So that's why it's such a long time ago. So so Stuart and his colleagues were using a metal grab concrete building products from an Arctic, a trailer, a curtain sider. Stuart's head became trapped in the jaws of the grab after a rope that was connected to the snapped. It was made clear that the metal grab should have actually never been used in the first place. The locking mechanism released the jaws of the grab as Stuart pulled on it, causing fatal injuries. So obviously, after investigation by the HSE, they found that the company had failed to ensure that this health and safety and welfare was in place for its employees. The work equipment being used at the time shouldn't have been used, and the company would have known this had they own health and safety systems. So it's pretty grisly reading.
Not nice. So I think the lens here is just pay attention to your health and safety requirements. Like I know we're sort of preaching to the converted here with transport managers, but it's good to remember that kind of it's not just transport road kind of compliance and safety. It is also kind of on-site stuff as well, which I think kind of comes on to the next one, which is a forklift incident as well. So do you want to go into that one?
So we're on the back of your comments about the concrete. Yeah, of course. And it's about not taking a blind eye to seeing things like you and I have always used the same story of someone using an oil drum to climb in the back of a lorry. If you see it, say it. Because when people think they can get away with things more and more and more, and that's when something happens or goes wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is about being the voice. Again, I've picked some really interesting company names, so I apologise.
See this pronunciation. Go on, let's have a look.
So it's basically an employee's leg was crushed by a forklift. So Akzonabel Packaging Coatings Limited have been fined £600,000 after an employee's leg and ankle were crushed by a forklift truck at their Birmingham sites on the 8th of May 2018. So the employee was walking across a pedestrian crossing at the time on the site when a forklift truck being driven by another worker collided with him, causing crushing injuries to his leg and ankle. So the driver didn't slow down on the approach to the pedestrian crossing, and it transpired that his vision was also restricted as the forklift was carrying multiple IBCs, so intermediate bulk containers. So the injured worker required surgery and skin grafts. So again, after investigation, the agency found that the company failed to provide adequate risk assessments nor any safe systems of work, as well as the biggest one, no supervision. Like massive lack of supervision on sites. And of course, it led to the adoption and development, basically, of custom and practice on sites. They were left to their own devices.
Yeah, we talk about this on other sessions about the culture of safety and compliance. It's not just a transport specific thing; it's across kind of company wide. And if you haven't got kind of a top down approach to this sort of stuff, of course, people are going to take the path of least resistance, and in this case, lead to fairly substantial injuries being kind of felt. So yeah, not nice. But yeah, I think the learning point is having an active and effective control over health and safety is kind of important. So,
yeah, definitely.
Is there anything else you wanted to add to those two?
No. For anyone new to the transport industry as a transport manager, or anyone that's not in the transport industry, if you're not already, sign up to the HSE. Get those safety bulletins each month, the newsletters. It's a fantastic source of material. Even if you're not a health and safety nerd, it really does. There are some good topics there. So yeah, that's it.
And obviously, come back to each of these each month, and we'll talk about them in a bit more detail, like we have today. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't necessarily kind of enjoy talking about this stuff, but I think it's interesting, and kind of learning from other people's mistakes, I think is a good one. So, okay, on to the next point, slightly lighter topic, briefly. ULEZ, so the ultra low emission zone. Obviously, I'll let you discuss this in more detail, talking about the expansions.
Obviously, yeah, it's obviously a sense happy about the ULEZ expansions. Obviously, people are vandalising, aren't they? The ULEZ cameras and tearing them down, spray painting them. They're not happy. Obviously, I feel sorry for the contractors because it's not their fault. They've got to keep going out and repairing these. But yeah, so basically, the proposed ULEZ expansions, they actually are on hold. Okay, so due to the High Court getting involved over a legal challenge. So basically, the expansion was set to go ahead in July 2023, so 2 months. Excuse me. The London boroughs of Hillingdon, Bexley, Bromley and Harrow, along with Surrey County Council, they've all launched court action challenging the mayor's proposal to extend those boundaries, which is pretty big, So if it does, the ULEZ will cover pretty much the entire Greater London Authority area. We'll keep an eye on this as it develops. It's obviously nothing's been released. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens. As of now, no other information has been released. So I think we're just gonna have to keep an eye on that. But not many happy people about this.
No, it's starting to affect people. Like, because I guess the further out it comes, the more residential it becomes. I know that my sister-in-law they live in Harrow, and she has a old Land Rover Discovery. Doesn't meet the requirements, so that means that's going to be affected by it. Kind of, it's quite a big deal for the public as well as the professional sector as well. So interesting to see how that goes. Next, this is just kind of a functional thing. Obviously, any people that know us, we pause. There's been some changes to the practitioner courses. So it's gone from 10 courses to now offering 15. True to form, it's complicated to read this. Must complete 6 mandatory courses and 4 option modules from a group of 9. You're still going to do 10 within your 12 months to be a practitioner. Course is still worth 1.5 hours of CPD. Bit more flexibility. I'm sure we'll list those full courses in the bulletin. But yeah, it's just to get a bit more flexibility to allow you to kind of personalize your training. What are your thoughts on that, John? Apart from being complicated to read.
Well, yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, there wasn't much out there in terms of news. I found this. I heard it sort of rumors circulating from other forwards auditors that I know, and you have to really do a deep dive in this website to find this information. So, and it doesn't read very well. I'll be honest.
No.
They haven't really handled this well. So, yeah, excuse me. Some of the courses do look good. Some of them look a bit more. There's a bit more variety now, which is really really interesting. Um, yeah, it is what it is. You know, you still got to do this the certain modules, but now you've got to pick up other modules. So
Yeah.
I suppose it will benefit people that are doing their practitioner recertification every 5 years. So or you want to do more courses. So yeah, I can see the benefit of it, but I don't think it's been handled in the best way. If you're fresh doing your fours, you want to progress to silver and gold, it may confuse you a little bit. So, but
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll find the link that actually explains the change and put it in the notes
Yeah.
for people,
So
just in case we have people that do fours.
yeah, we'll list those courses.
Yeah, yeah.
So the kind of onto the kind of changes to the guide to roadworthiness. Before we get to that, there was a kind of release mostly around the categorization of vehicle defects intended mostly for DVSA vehicle examiners. We're not going to go into that because it's really aimed at vehicle examiners, wasn't it? But it was about just categorization of defects on a vehicle, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've seen some sort of people panicking about the sort of the different categorization, but you're right. It's first and foremost that document was put in place to make, to help DVSA vehicle examiners, but also promote consistency amongst the examiners. If anyone's actually
Yeah.
read the guide, I think it's 270 pages, so it's a fairly lengthy guide. But yeah, there are some little interesting nitbits, but there was nothing that really came out. Some people were mentioning about height markers, but majority of stuff's already on daily walk around sheets anyway.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's again, if you want to read it, it's a very long document.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that kind of gets us on to the final point of today is the updated guide to roadworthiness that was updated. Lots of things changed. We're going to just quickly go through some of the main updates. Again, if we missed anything, please do say. Any of our more experienced TMs, please do kind of to account. This is the first one. We're still very much trying to find our feet with how we do this. So please do kind of let us know. But yeah, I'll let John. Do you want to kind of jump in and start from the beginning and just outline some of the changes to the.
So we've gone through the guide, and there were 5 sort of bits that sort of stood out to us more. Again, obviously read the entire thing, but there's 5 that we thought were quite interesting. The first one I found interesting was it transpired that people were getting confused about what checks should be carried out during a first use inspection, or how often sort of a daily walk round check should be done. Again, it seemed kind of obvious to us, but people find it confusing, so they've done something. So basically, now included a definition for each type of inspection and check. They've also added an intermediate safety check for the times where, for example, you need to check the wear on some components more often than the safety inspection would require you to. So that was quite interesting. Obviously, the big ones coming up, which a lot of people are discussing. Like good vehicles. So again, everyone knows this from May last year, 21st of May 2022. But again, it's now been added to the guide. As everyone knows, from 21st of May 2022, if you want to use light good vehicles over 2.5 tons, but up to that 3.5 ton for hire and reward into and through sort of Europe, Switzerland, Norway, that sort of area, you need a standard international operator's license. Again, this is old news. Most people knew this, but the guide has now been updated to reflect this requirements. So to help people, so it's now officially in there. Um, towing another company's trailer. So if you tow another company's trailer, additional advice has now been added to help those operators. Includes requirements around trailer authorization on the operator license, things like who is responsible for maintenance, including the safety inspections, as well as who has to have access to trailer documents. You've also already stated in this guide as well that as an operator, they are responsible for the condition of the trailer when it's coupled to their vehicle. And obviously, they can still receive prohibitions, fixed penalty, or points, fines, etc., if that trailer is found to be unroadworthy. So again, people already knew this, but I think they're now putting guidance in there to help people.
I mean, I say on the PI we read through earlier, it was talking about that as well, about towing other people's trailers. So I think it
Exactly. Yeah.
shows that it's been changed.
Yeah. Advanced driver assistance systems, so EDAS. So as more vehicles are fitted with ADAS, they've added a new section including the need to like recalibrate. If you have new windscreen, for instance, fitted, there's new guidance now on how often you have to have them recalibrated, and giving extra information on drivers basically to make sure they're familiar with different types of ADAS that's fitted across different vehicle types. And finally, the fifth point, brake tests. So they're now stating that from April 2025, laden roller brake tests, or electronic brake performance monitoring systems, EBPMS for short, will some expectations be the only accepted methods for brake testing. So to prepare for this change, they're advising now that a laden roller brake test is carried out at every safety inspection. Again, read those words, strongly advise that a laden roller brake test is carried out every safety inspection. The guide now includes more detail on how to use the EBPMS, has more advice on brake testing in general. They've also stated that a brake performance assessment can be carried out no more than 7 days before the inspection dates. So you can get it a different date if you need to, but the 7 days before. So that's a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, I think in terms of brake testing, it's something it's a hot topic I see a lot at the moment. And we have actually got a workshop running on this, I think on the 9th of May on the TMC. So if anyone's kind of keen to kind of really dive into that one in more detail, I thoroughly recommend signing up and kind of getting your spot, because that's an interesting topic that I think is discussed an awful lot. So I would thoroughly recommend that. So is there anything else you want to add around the guide to roadworthiness?
No, of course, people are still reading it. Again, we see on social media, people are saying they've read different things, and it's still worth reading the guide. We may have missed some points. These are the ones that we thought were the most apparent, ones that we're seeing issues in the day-to-day from operators and transport managers. So by all means, if there's something that you feel we missed that's really, really important, let us know. But these are the ones we thought were decent ones to bring.
I hope everyone has sort of got something out of this in to discuss. I know it's been like a whistle stop tour through. I think we've still got some people actually hanging on to the end, which is nice. It's quite a heavy subject to go through all this sort of stuff. I know middle of the day can sometimes be quite difficult if you don't get time off at lunch to kind of attend. So I do appreciate everyone joining. I have been looking at the questions. Had no real questions come in. Casper, anything else that I've missed? Anything I've missed? Any questions I've missed? No. Cool. Okay. I will say I think this two-way flow has been quite nice. Me asking questions. Like hopefully I'm asking the questions that everyone else is wanting me to ask. So as I say, thank you very much everyone for joining. Thank you, John, for putting in the effort and time to create this. It did take us a good few hours to get this put together. So hopefully our hard work has saved you guys lots of work, and you can just watch and read and listen to this. As I say, this is obviously going to be live on all the channels for a few more days, but when it comes, it will go onto the TMC. It'll be a part of the free plan, so do go and check out the TMC, even if you just sign up for the free plan. And the bulletin will be available on the free plan as well. So please do go check it out. That's kind of, we're trying to kind of support TMs, and this is part of that. So John, unless you've got anything else to add, I'll let you go and deal with your bathroom, and thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Thanks.
And now we have this awkward thing of trying to leave all this and close all the Facebook ones and stuff. So people are going to see our face looking really gormless at this point. So I'm going to try and do this now. Don't look too gormless, John.
Sorry.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's interesting.
Literally,